So thanks for bearing with me. I'm not clearly not at home, so I'm trying to like balance tech on one monitor instead of three, and so I have to switch over to get access to my moderator notes, which is where some of my news is kept too. So, all right, Tyler Mercs Kickstarter notes. I love that section. Excuse me. Ugh. All right.
He's so excited about it.
Just as a reminder, so for going back for anyone who is new to the show. So a while ago, there was an issue identified where the Mercs salvage boxes, which are not supposed to have vehicles, had vehicles, or some of them did. Up to 6,000 of them did. So since all potentially affected backers are getting an additional salvage box, if you have more than one vehicle, then email tbuckner@catalystgamelabs.com. So if both have a vehicle, because you got the extra. So that extra is supposed to make up for the fact that if you got one vehicle, you got something else. But if you happen to be one of the lucky ones that got two vehicles, please email Tyler at tbuckner@catalystgamelabs.com. I coughed and now I have to sneeze. I'm just a mess today, guys. I don't know what's going on. All right. I'm gonna have to try to fight it. We have successfully shipped out over 14,000 orders so far. So keep in mind that that's 25,000 orders from the Kickstarter page itself, not to mention however many are were placed in the backer kit side of things. So 14,000 orders are sent. Fortunes of War 5, Heavy is the Head EPUB and Kindle EPUB are now distributed to backers at the regiment level and above. So there's some fiction news for you, John.
Just to chime in there, that is the last of that particular series of the Fortunes of War. We promised 5, we delivered 5. However, the series itself is going to continue because it's a very good kind of little subset. So there will be more Fortunes of War novellas. That's just going to be out to general sales. But yeah, we're very happy with them, and it's a good way for writers, both old and new, to dive into kind of the mercenary subset of BattleTech stories. So there you go. Yeah, very excited about that. And really happy to wrap that up. The stories are great. Bill's, I know, is in the can. So it was, yeah, everyone did just bang up jobs on all those stories.
Awesome. Another round of store credit is making its way out today. So with when shipping was originally getting dealt with, if you had chosen a store credit for your shipping reimbursement, check your spam folder just to make sure that it didn't come through there. If you have already left a message, please do not worry. We are working through them as soon as possible. I wonder, I haven't gotten a check yet what we're up to since I was out last week in terms of messages, but I know that Tyler does have help and is trying to dig through those. I don't have, geez. I don't have any news other than things are still in transit for our international backers. So as soon as we have word and are allowed to share that with you, but it should be fairly soon. I know some of you also, this isn't on Tyler's notes, but I know some of you also have noticed that some of the distributors out there have release dates for October. Those are tentative. So everything is dependent on the Kickstarter and when that fulfills. So we are still committed to not releasing to retail until distribution, until Kickstarter has been done, and until the retailers have 30 days of their orders head start. So that will go to distribution for retailers to be able to get it, but Catalyst will not be releasing some of this product until the retailers have had their 30 days. All right, so that's my Kickstarter news. For events, we have a busy event season coming up here. It feels all like summer part 2. So Randall, Bryn, and I believe Talon will be making their way to Essen, Essenspiel, and PAX Australia. And then October 17th to the 20th, is GameholeCon. This will be our first time going to GameholeCon, and we'll be really heavy into the RPG space for that. So we have a booth outside of the vendor hall. Going to have neon and some holograms and stuff like that. And you'll be able to do some demos of Shadowrun, Voltron, and Frostpunk. And then we'll have some special guest games as well going where you can play with Jason Hardy, who's the RPG director, or RJ Thomas, who's the Shadowrun Online developer. I'll be there too, so you can come play games with me too. The following weekend is VoltCon. So we are going to have a small table there just to talk about the Voltron Kickstarter, which is launching October 8th. So the Voltron Kickstarter will be live while we're there so that we can demo the game and get excited with all the Voltron fans out there. And then finally, Shrapnel 18, as John said, it releases this Friday. And I do have, I'm a little quiet. Okay, let me try to fix it. And I can get myself a little bit louder. So I do have a pre-order link for that John sent me. So let me scroll up and find that real quick. I miss my 3 monitors, John.
I would too if I were in your situation.
This is so difficult. And
Click over, scroll up.
I really want one of those like monitor extenders, but they're like $1,200, and I'm like, ugh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think you almost need that. Golly.
What was that?
I think you almost need that, but that's a lot.
With the amount of travel, yeah. But they're still so new that they're all right. There's the pre-order link. Oh, and actually, while we're talking about pre-order links, I did see this question pop up in the mod chat while I was looking at the notes. So, John, can you explain why the pre-order link is just for the PDF? Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
So I'm going to correct that. It's for the ebook only. So because there was a question, and it's a very good question, and I wish I had a better answer for everybody. Why can't you pre-order the POD edition? I don't know. For some reason, Amazon lets you pre-order the ebook, but they will not let you pre-order the POD. This is all on our distributor, unfortunately, which is Amazon. I've politely asked them about it and gotten really no answer in reply. It's an order like any other order, and you'd think a company, a logistics company, which is what they are, they're a logistics and fulfillment company, you'd think it wouldn't be that hard for them to do that. But apparently it is. So believe me, if it ever changes, you all will be the first to know because you'll hear my yell across the country. So yeah, until now, unfortunately, you have to limit yourself to ebook pre-order only. I'm going to use the word annoyed. I'm as annoyed about it as I'm sure a lot of people are. Because the main reason, because there doesn't seem to be any real reason as to why it can't be done. It'd be like flipping a switch or something, but that's where we are. And until they change their internal procedures, we're kind of stuck with that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, it is what it is. We're tied by our vendors, unfortunately, but we are we're doing a lot better, John, at communicating before release so that you guys know the pre-order link is coming.
Yes.
We know that when it goes live, that we have it not only on our website but on Amazon as well. Or is it just Amazon and Kindle, or is it available on any other ebook platform? I can't remember.
Oh, it's available on Kobo, Barnes and Noble, Drive-Thru. I think we figured out. I have to ask Phil about that. Drive-Thru's been a little thorny about pre-orders. But all the other ones, even the minor ones, we do we do an aggregator called Draft to Digital where you slap it out to like 8 places, including across like Mondadori has a pre-order link for it for those in Italy who want it. So it's across the board. There's a few hiccups, and then of course, yeah. So we want to give it to folks in whatever platform they choose to, including POD. That just comes a couple weeks later, unfortunately.
I think that was there anything else I missed in directors, John, that you think should be translated today, or should we
Uh,
move on to our fun stuff?
Now let's move on to the fun stuff. So
Okay.
I completely agree. So yeah,
So
I am down.
so John has sent me the PDF for Shrapnel 18. I haven't even gotten to pull it up yet. So while I do that, John, why don't you take the first story? Tell us about this issue of Shrapnel first, and then dive in.
I would be very happy to. So, uh, as folks know, I am the executive editor for Catalyst, so I oversee things like Shrapnel, which has been a great endeavor. But the bulk of the hands work is done by our very capable managing editor, Phil Lee. So shout out to him for putting together another terrific issue. This one is more focused on the hinterlands. So there's a lot of sorry, hinterlands related material in this one, because I believe there's either a hotspots hinterland. There's a game, and I should have had this ready and I didn't. That's my fault. There's a game related item about the hinterlands that's coming out, I think, in November, and unfortunately I do not have the title on me. That's on me. But so we did a lot
Um,
of the stories and pulled it together. You happen to know that, Rep?
I think I do, but I want to get it right, so I'm going to pull up the product schedule. So I
Okay. Well, I'll keep. I believe me, I'll keep going. And then the funny part, uh, and Phil always writes a terrific introduction where he talks about the stories and talks about the game material, and it's always awesome. I love working on Shrapnel has been one of the highlights of me working here, because it's just great to see the fans embrace this magazine series. And he mentioned that this month, September of 1989, is when the clans first arrived with the publication of Mike Stackpole's novel Lethal Heritage. So a little bit of a celebration for that. The BattleTech universe got a whole lot larger with the clan invasion. And I thought that was a really neat piece of BattleTech history that he pulled out in his introduction. So you should read the intros. They're really good. But without further ado, I'm going to leap into the story, which is by Alex Fairbanks. It's called Nesting Falcons. I'm pretty sure we published Alex before, but I'm not going to go back and look. And I'm just going to dive right into it. And we're just going to read about the first page to give you a taste of what's going on here. All right, this is an excerpt from
it's
Nesting Falcons. Oh,
Hotspots Hinterlands.
I was right. Woohoo! Okay, cool. Which I think is an ebook only or a PDF only release. So there we go. All right, yay me. So the excerpt from Nesting Falcons, Alex Fairbanks. Here we go. The Empyrean Nightclub, New Memphis, Graceland, Tamar Pact, 21 May, 3152. At least the bourbon wasn't bad, Captain William Tucker thought as he glanced over the gaudy decorum of the Empyrean nightclub. A loud, reverberating bass echoed from the dance floor downstairs, sending pulses through his body. Even upstairs, his eyes were bombarded by bright white and scarlet lights of a holovid reflecting off the obsidian walls. Will and his lance mate, Cameron Pham, arrived right on time, but of course, Donald Malthus, military governor of Graceland and prominent member of the CD Malthus Confederation, made them wait in the lounge, offering free drinks to soften them up until an attendant arrived to escort them to his office. Whatever frustrations he felt, Will pushed them aside. After all, money was on the line. Donald had tasked the Bleeding Eagles with protecting New Memphis from attacks by Jade Falcon sympathizers who held on to their old beliefs, and Colonel Barnes had delegated the matter to Will's lance. The job had proven difficult, since the few Jade Falcon followers that remained loyal to the clans had scattered throughout the populace, striking seemingly at random. Despite mostly being made up of ill-equipped ex-laborer cast members, they were still vicious and deadly. Last week, the rebels struck a supply depot, stealing countless weapons in a quick raid. Before that, they led a raid on Dunbar, a town a good ways away from New Memphis. Between the clan sympathizers and civvies, there had been hundreds of deaths. Ugly business. When the Eagles had arrived with a full lance, most of the raiders scattered, fleeing from the carnage. Some died, most were taken prisoner, but the rebellion didn't seem to slow down. That afternoon, though, Donald had excitedly called Will, saying he had some intel on how to cut off the head of the snake. Now they had to meet in person at the crime lord's new nightclub. There you go. That's where I'm stopping. That is excerpt from Nesting Falcons by Alex Fairbanks. And just nice, gritty beginning to a great story set in the Tamar Pact about mercenaries scrabbling to complete the mission. That's all I'm going to say about that one. But it's an excellent lead-off story for Shrapnel 18.
Awesome. All right, the next one is Hars Chongers by Ken Horner. You want to tell us anything about that one?
Yeah. So the great thing about mercenary stories, they cover a lot of ground. Ken, of course, is a long time. He's been doing a lot of source book work for us, and he dabbles in fiction on both Shadowrun and BattleTech, and we're pleased to have him in this issue as well. And mercenaries in BattleTech, as anyone who's run a mercenary unit knows, odds are almost always stacked against you. Whether it's completing the mission with faulty intel, or even just completing the terms of your contract when your client wants to maybe change those terms on the fly. And Ken's story is a really good example of when that might happen. Oh, Ram, did you want to take the first page on that one?
Sure. Um, pardon me for my mispronunciations. It's YPIR. How do you say that?
I would say Ray probably will correct me if he's in the chat. I would probably say Yipper Hills.
Yipper Hills, Rampart, Ballymure, 24 March 3152. Sophia Allegrante nervously tapped her aiming joystick, waiting for the cue to spring the trap as she watched her compressed 360-degree view screen in her night star. Her main focus lay ahead, but on the field of battle, she knew things didn't always happen where they were expected. She'd dealt with the unexpected before, though. If she could just make it through this one last battle, she and the rest of the Potter's Pounders could finally go home for some much-needed R&R. Pound, this is Rabbit, the breathless voice said through the speakers in her neuro helmet. The fox is on our tail. See you in a few seconds. She did one last check of her systems while toggling communications to her Lance network. Guys, contact incoming. Everything looked ready to go. 3 mechs from Rabbit Lance burst through an opening in the trees. An ancient Shadowhawk, a Griffin, and a Valkyrie all bore recent damage on their armor as they ran past Sophia's mech, hidden in the foliage. Rabbit Lance fired a few poorly aimed shots behind them, mostly to distract their pursuers than to do any actual damage. Once the 3 friendlies passed her position, a Black Hawk and an Uller in faded jade falcon colors ran after Rabbit Lance, quickly followed by a Mad Cat and another Uller. As per the plan, Sophia surged her Nightstar forward, just as a Loki trotted into the clearing. The clan mech slowed, as if sharing the surprise of its pilot. Her ambush had cut it off from its starmates. She pulled the trigger, unleashing all her weapons except for the small laser. The 2 Gauss rifle slugs smashed into the smaller mech. One gouged a massive hole in the left leg, while the other ripped a gaping wound in the right torso, knocking its shoulder-mounted missile launcher askew, its payload facing the cockpit, as if to highlight the misery of the surprised clanner. Her particle projection cannon continued the assault, melting the armor off the Loki's left arm, but only one of her pulse lasers hit the center of the enemy's chest. I'll stop there.
Well done. Well done. Nice guys are
It's a fun one.
nothing to mess with. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
by the way,
like getting right into battle.
right. I don't, it's going to seem like the Falcons we're kind of beating up on them, but that's just because their OZ was left completely undefended. So people are trying to parcel that up as much as possible. But they do play a factor in several of these stories from one aspect or another. But it just, look, when you pull 90% of your Kumon out to Terra and leave garrisons of Lama and cadets, that's going to leave a problem. It's going to leave a power vacuum. So that's kind of what's happening in the hinterlands, and it's still ongoing. Yeah, so well done, Ren. That was really good. Did you get my note? I guess people are saying there's a little bit of an echo when I'm speaking on
That's
the
probably
stream.
me. Let me try to just mute when you're going. Because
Okay.
I have a headset on, so I don't know why it's still echoing, but I don't know.
Matic is
Tech is not my friend when
again
I'm traveling, apparently.
so much fun. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one. We have some fun stuff. We have one of them. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure probably everyone in the stream does know, Shrapnel doesn't always just have fiction. It has game material as well, including articles. Voices of the Sphere has become a long-running one of ours, where kind of ask a question to various people around the inner sphere and they answer. There's an article I want to call it called "What Next for Blue Hole," which is like an internal chat uh, uh, screen, a chat. What do they call those? Not a box, a hole, a chat room. It's a chat room for members of the clan, kind of discussing what the planet of Blue Hole is supposed to do next because they have potential enemies within one jump of them, like three of them. Like, well, who do we go with? Do we go to this person? Do we go to that person? And it's color, but it's great, unusual color that comes out of the game itself. It's a lot of fun. All right, the next story I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, is Hide and Seek by Sam Barrett. The other fun little subtext that happened here was there were a couple of Irby stories in here, including another one by James Kirtley that we're going to get to a little bit later. But this is Hide and Seek by Sam Barrett. It's a different than the Majesty of Canopus. So I'm just gonna launch right into this one. Let's see. This is opening is Claiborne's Commandos Hangar Facility, Draxa, Majesty of Canopus, 17 September 3057. A little bit back in time. What do you think? Honestly, Lieutenant Mira Dumont palmed the cigarette, cupped it between her fingers, and took a long, slow drag. The nicotine helped steel her against the hideous reality of the machine she was about to pilot. I think it looks like a death trap. Major Tabitha Prim crossed her arms and stared up at the urban mech, watching the techs clamber across it like insects. Jets of neon flame kissed its surface as they set to work finalizing whatever finishing touches they could make before it lumbered into battle. It's certainly got character. The Irby wasn't a recent acquisition. Prim had haggled it off a merchant ship passing by on their way to Vixen. Last owner had apparently been an aspiring gladiator with little piloting skill and even less aesthetic taste. Mira watched the tech scrub the last of the decals off the side, erasing the head of a coquettish geisha. It was pretty sure Cretan women didn't actually dress like that. Mira scoffed. It's an industrial mech with pretensions, Major. If that thing could talk, I'm fairly certain it'd beg me to put it down. Prim's brow furrowed. It's not ideal, Lieutenant. I know. None of this is. What I'm asking is, are you ready enough to pilot it? She turned, suddenly a little ashamed of her flippancy. She snapped a salute, mindful of the ash that spilled from her cigarette. Yeah, I'm ready. When you need me, you have me. Good. Prim's smile was warm and almost motherly. It was an odd quality in a woman who'd spent a lifetime fighting for coin. I'm sorry about your commando, Mira. I know you love that mech, but we need every ton we can spare. So, I ask again, are you ready? Mira blew a billowing cloud of smoke into the air and cracked a self-assured smirk. For you, boss, I'll drag this ugly bastard through hell and back. And as it turns out, that's exactly what happens. But yeah, sometimes mercenaries don't get to choose the ride they get to pilot into battle. It is thrust upon them in this story. And this was a really great piece set in a very unforgiving environment as well, which we didn't have time to get into in this excerpt. But if you read the story, you'll find out. And that brings its own complications. Going to, well, it's not a meadow, it's not a jungle, it's not a forest. It's something completely different. So, and a lot of fun. Um, Sam did a really good job, and I think Sam might be one of our new authors. I can't remember. We usually break at least one or two new authors in an issue, and I'd have to go back to Phil's introduction to remember which are the new authors. But really good job. Skim ahead.
Right,
Oh,
I had to unmute again.
all right.
Which
Actually,
do you want?
let me break in here real quick because we're talking James Kirtley's. That happens to be the next one, which is one of my personal favorites. I'm not going to read it because it doesn't quite lend itself to. I just want to say that James came up with this idea about a civilian force piloting an urban mech, and it's called Cops. And this is the second installment. I'm not sure we're going to get any more because this joke you can only push it so far. But when the Lamb became, and I'm going to put this in quotes, a real thing, as in we have a Lance pack, we have salvage mechs, we have all this stuff. I knew we had to do a follow up to his first Cups, which I think was like 4 or 5 issues ago, about a hapless pilot who stumbles into getting an Irby Lamb and the chaos that ensues. And it's told as if it were a television series. And it's hilarious as the first one was. And like I said, I'm not going to read it because it doesn't lend itself here to that kind of thing. But when you get 18, pick it up. If you laugh half as much as I did, you'll know it's just amazing. So yeah, that's one of the highlights to me of this issue. Well, we can move on, and
Sure.
we should. Let's go on to the next piece.
The next one's a mission briefing.
Yeah, we'll skip that. That doesn't really lend itself either. So it
I'll
is. I
let you
will
direct
say,
me where to go.
yep. This mission briefing actually is kind of fun because it happens underwater, and it gives you actually stats for like submarines and things like that. Something we don't usually tackle. So I was really pleased to see this come across our desk. The author Eric, who's running, he heads our fact check team. A really great guy. He wrote this one up, and this is also for a mech warrior. This is for Destiny, but you could also play it, I believe, with the other role playing game, if I'm not mistaken. Time of War. I think it's for both of them, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, it's my fault. Don't take it on Eric. That's not me misspeaking. But it was a really different kind of campaign, and I was really happy to have it. Oh, here we go. The next fiction piece is called "The Shadow of the Mad Tea Master," and this is a really unusual story by James Hauser. Uh, I can tackle this one if you want, Rem, and we'll have you do the next one since there's a lot of. Okay, all right.
Go right
So
ahead.
the book was the issue was supposed to be all hinterlands, but we didn't have as many to fill out the entire issue, so we had to mix some other pieces in. This one is a very interesting Dark Age story set mostly in the Draconis Combine. It's a really unique piece that deals with other things in terms of not that's not all mech combat all the time. I like doing and Phil. We keep an eye out for these unusual stories that are set in the world and kind of deepen your knowledge of certain places. And I think Mad Tea Master certainly does that. So without further ado, the western suburbs of Satsuma, Luthian, Cronus Combine, 1830. I'm sorry, 18 June 3150. It is said that his final gift made his executioner kill himself. Shintaro Ichio stroked his graying goatee. His black hair was uncharacteristically long for a Combine noble, and he was often likened to a cat for his independent mindedness. I'm sure you've all heard the name Shoichi Harada, he said as he made eye contact with the other three seated in his neo traditional living room. It combined the traditional samurai austerity with the 29th century flow style. In places, paintings and sculptures mocked the harmony of the style. To his right was Julia Watanabe, dressed in normal business attire except for her silk blouse that sported several creatures of Combine folklore. Her long black hair was tied back, unintentionally emphasizing her classes. Across from Shintaro, Hiroshi Corso was dressed in a traditional kimono top and pants, as if to draw attention away from his Caucasian ancestry. His brown hair was neatly cut. The fourth person was the red-headed Kamiko Wexler. He was a master of high-form origata, the art of elaborate gift-giving. He was a senior instructor and occasional consultant of the noted Joyous Tears Origata Dojo. Pardon if I mispronounced that. Her dress and appearance were letter perfect. Ichiyo-sama, she said, in my calling, everyone has heard of him, the Mad Tea Master. He is a legend, and perhaps a myth. Many have sought to study his techniques and psychology, but there is a question as to whether he even existed. You can find no records of him, which either means he is a fabrication, or all official records of his existence merged. Kintaro smiled. This is not surprising. He had a bad reputation. Watanabe-san and Corso-san, have you heard of this man? In vague terms, Ichiyo-sama, replied Corso. Watanabe replied negatively. Soka. Shintaro nodded. Koichi Hirata, according to legend, was born into a wealthy and well-connected family. All his needs were provided for, which left him a great deal of time to practice his favorite art, the tea ceremony. And he was very good at it, mastering its every intricate. He made a name for himself at court in Imperial City by entertaining eminent guests at his tea house. We're actually going to stop there because it's going to take a while to fill in more of it. But as you can hear, it's an interesting opening to a more unusual BattleTech story. And I hope folks who read it enjoy it as much as I did.
I like
It
that.
goes in yeah, it goes in a very unusual direction. And it's a lot of fun.
The battles are fun to read, like the descriptions and stuff like that, but like the political intrigue and stuff like that, that's kind of more my
And
alley.
although it may not seem like it, this one is a wash in political intrigue and among various houses. And you learn more about Combine society and Draconis their arts, their crafts, of course, which they take very seriously, and it's really it's a lot of fun. And also the ending, I can guarantee no one will see coming, and I'm just going to leave it at that. It's that simple.
They
Next we
finished
go
their
into
tea. No one saw it coming.
and all was well. Next we go into Brewer's House of Cards. It's another Eric Salzman. And Duke Videt Brewer is, or Vedette, I'm not sure how you actually do that one. You go either way. Is a notable, some would say infamous figure in the hinterlands, and he's still up to his old tricks. He was last mentioned in Craig's Elements of Treason, I want to say Opportunity, where he tried to knit together, it was a kind of his redemption arc in a way. He tried to knit together a little fiefdom for himself. But as Brewer's House of Cards by Eric Salzman will reveal, he's got more issues than I think he knows what to do with. I'm just going to that. That's interesting. All right, plenty. It's a kind of a regional briefing, and we're just going to leave that one go. All right, then there's a Planet Digest on Leskovic. These are a lot of great ones where you want to learn more about a certain area.
We're just going to do one more before we switch to question and answer. So choose wisely,
okay.
John.
In that case, I am. I'm going to skip to the end. Just give me a second because I want to read the excerpt from Brian's story. The second part of Violent Inception by Rusty Zimmerman is in here with the Mountain Wolf battle mechs, telling about how they were founded. A minute, I have to skim this, and it's a lot of pages, to be honest. It's fairly large. And there's another great story, Metachromis, but unfortunately we don't have time for all of them. So, but I really want to read the beginning of this one because it deals with one of the most popular and famous characters. Oh, we also have another, we have an Ace Bixby story in here, which I also cannot cover. But I wanted to, I'm going as quickly as I can, bear with me. There we go. All right, and then the final, we ended for fiction. The final story is called Zealot's Nest by Brian Young. And this one I'm going to go a little bit further, but it won't be too far. But when you get to the ending, where I'm going to stop, you'll find out why. All right, this is Fund Palast, Old Connaught, Ark Royal Liberty Coalition, 1 January 3152, 0036 hours. The clock had struck midnight, and many of Grand Duchess Calandre Kell's guests had begun filtering out of the palace to sleep off their pending hangovers and get ready for the work that had to be done. The Ducal Palace was an old German-style castle that had been the pride of the capital city. When Calamity Kell, leader of the Kellhounds, had taken Ark Royal back, he also took back the seat of government and all its trappings. As much as Calandra's priorities were to get revenge against the Jade Falcons and to free those who had lived too long under Malvina's tyrannical yoke, she had to admit that it was nice to set herself up in a castle overlooking the placid glass surface of Lachlan Lake. She took a hearty gulp of champagne from the bottle rather than a flute, and smiled at the Kellhounds and local dignitaries saying their goodbyes. For a Grand Duchess, having a little bit. There we go. For a Grand, sorry, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the page cutting off weirdly, and I don't know why. All right, bear with me here. Let me this. There we go. Sorry for the pause. For a Grand Duchess, she dressed in a black cocktail dress like any party-going merc on Galatea might, rather than in the ornate fashion of Ark Royal. But the more she thought about it, the fashion of Ark Royal was more and more becoming the fashion of those she brought to liberate the planet. Everyone wanted to look like the people who had brought freedom from the Jade Falcons in their cruel occupation. Landry Kell smiled as Brendan, her gunner, staggered over, a bottle of Old Conbrow gripped in his fist like a pistol. Happy New Year, boss! His eyes widened in panic as she arched an eyebrow and pulled at another draft from the oversized bottle of champagne. Is it Duchess? Your Highness? What do I call you with these things? Boss is fine, Fievel. Heard him, even here. Boss is fine. Well then, Happy New Year, boss! He raised his bottle of beer and clinked it to her comically oversized bottle of champagne. Happy New Year, Fievel. But her voice lacked mirth. She didn't feel it. She drank, she laughed, she had done all the things she was supposed to do on a holiday like this, where the customs had barely changed from planet to planet over the centuries. For as long as there had been years, There had been celebrations to usher in the new one. They both took drinks and smiled, but then Brendan saw someone else he wanted to wish well and nodded to her. They had a good relationship for being in the same tank crew. He was still the boss, which kept him at arm's length to a degree. Adopting the title Grand Duchess of Ark Royal as a legitimate political posting had done nothing to bridge that gap. So he left Calandre to herself and her giant bottle of champagne. With everyone leaving, she thought some rack time sounded perfect and headed to the grand staircase at the center of the room, plush with red carpet, and ascended it. Leaving the party behind and beneath her, Calandre sought the right corridor. There were too many hallways in a castle this big, and ambled through it as soon as she found it. Alone, walking slowly, she wondered about what it would have been like for her grandfather to have walked these halls, as surely he had, or his uncles, or any member of her family that had settled on Ark Royal. Would they have approved of her course of action and set out to carve their own empire from the ruins of what the Jade Falcons left? She didn't know. The heavy red drapes along the walls stirred, giving her pause. She stopped, wondering who would be up here. Those she would have expected from the staff or command crew were still lingering in the ballroom. For a split second, she wondered if it were a pair of Kellhounds taking the opportunity to take cover behind the curtains for some carnal pleasure. But the chill at the top of her spine told her something must have been wrong. Hello? She said, as though she were in a horror vid waiting for a horrific avian creature to pop out and attack her with a spear. But it was no avian alien. It was just a kid. He looked no older than 17 or 18. Brown hair and a tight crew cut. Held himself like a warrior. In his hands, he held a needle or pistol aimed right at her. That'll be far enough, he said, firm but quiet. He made no move, but her mind, addled with the booze as it was, fired its synapses. First, she tried to recognize the kid, remember him from where she'd seen him, and also plot out some retaliation or survival plot, because surely this appeared to her to be an assassination attempt. He wore a caped suit in Kellhound's colors, but he didn't have the loosened buttons at the top to denote a night of drinking, and he didn't have the wrinkles or beer stains to match the revelry. He was fastidious. The pressed lines in his attire were too perfect. And then Calandre had a fast flash of recognition. Not an avian alien, but a bird nonetheless. You're one of the Falcon cadets. Aff, he said. Thought you left that all behind. Turned your back on it. And you're not going to challenge me or anything. Just going to find a dark corner and kill me. Best way, he said, his mouth a grim slit, bright blue eyes sparkling with hate. Calandre smirked. I always knew if one of you bastards was going to kill me, you'd be the one to do it. So let's just get it over with, yeah? And that's where I'm going to end. That's quite the cliffhanger. And then the rest of the story is how we get to that point, but I'm going to let everyone else read that one. So, yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Again, Falcons again, but a different approach. You read the story. I think everyone's going to be happy with that one. Brian did a terrific job. And it's always good to see Calandre back in action doing what she does best. So, yeah, that's 18. There's a lot more stuff in there. A lot. There's a Thunderhawk. We did the read up on the Thunderhawk mech. Just chock full of stuff, both in fiction and gaming. I can't talk highly enough about the Shrapnel series, to be honest. So that was really fun reading some of the stories. Next time we'll have to get some of the authors to do it themselves.
Yeah, I really would like to do like it's on my plans when I have time, which is never, to produce a fiction show for the channel that we would get the authors to do little snippets of their readings and stuff. But someday,
a lot of fun.
In the meantime,
spare time, yes.
Yes. In the meantime, though, I have questions and answers to do. Q&A. So, John, there's a couple of these questions for you. Someone in the chat called Russell Zimmerman asked, did any Shadowrun fiction come out recently, or is any coming out soon? Asking for a friend, honest.
That guy. Well, geez, I don't know. I would say who let him in here. Talked last week about Dark Synergy, a amazing Shadowrun novel, full-length novel that may have been written by a certain R. Zimmerman. I won't, his friend, obviously. I can't speak highly enough about that one either. It just dropped. That was last week, as a matter of fact. So I'm pretty sure you mentioned it. I hope you would have. But
last week I wasn't on. So
that's right. You were busy at Alliance. Yes.
Yep.
So yes. Well, better late than never. So yeah, our full length, our latest full length Shadowrun novel, Dark Synergy by Russell Zimmerman, is out, available now in POD and ebook. It is a amazing, amazing read, introducing a fascinating new character who also pops up in the upcoming anthology, Magic Machines and Mayhem, I believe, which is slated for the end of this month, right? Mistaken?
It is September. Yeah, I believe it's September.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the end of the month. Anyway, so yes, so there's a double shot. But Magic Machines and Mayhem is the Shadowrun anthology that was part of the, I want to say, the Edge Zone Kickstarter, if I'm not mistaken. And we're publishing it. Yes, and we're publishing it as well. So it's a double shot of Rusty this month. So yes, plenty of Shadowrun action for the fiction fans who like that sort of thing.
Daniel asks, how's it going with the audiobooks?
Thanks, Daniel. It's going well. Actually, we should have another one dropping this month. I just have to talk to Lauren about which one it's going to be. So yeah, but the program is moving forward, and could be. We're on target to release at least 2 more this year, if not a few more, if I can arrange it. So it just depends on scheduling. But yeah, we're full steam ahead on that.
Stephen Strangeways asks, any news on Den of Wolves?
I'm gonna punt that to go ask Lauren whenever he does one of these AMAs, or if you see him at a con somewhere. Last night was aware it's at least 3/4 done. It's just doing the final wrap up. So Mike and Lauren are hard at work on it, from what I understand. I'm really hoping to get a draft in my hands before the end of the year. I've said that before, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that to my list to yell him about too, because I'm meeting with him tonight. And
ooh, please do. And thank you, folks, for bringing it up.
Florian asks, what are the next books to be released? I'm waiting especially for Voidbreaker. Also, any Leviathan's book.
I can tell you, Voidbreaker is Q1 of next year. Leviathans, it is on my list to get done. I would like to publish that. So I have, as I've said this before, it's open news that I have Bill Keith's draft of his novel on my plate with everything else in my voluminous spare time. No. And I want to dive into it sooner rather than later. I would like to get that up before the end of the year. I cannot guarantee that, but I have the draft and just got to get that finished. So otherwise, I've got a, let's see, Bounty Hunter anthology. We have all the stories in place. And hopefully we're going to get that to KS backers by the end of this month, so we can release that. Ideally, I've got a soft release for Bounty Hunter Anthology to public in November. Mike Stackpole is doing Night in the Woods, his follow-up to Night at the Lake for the Death Kangaroos. And then we've got some other stuff. Issue 19, of course, for Shrapnel will be in December, as it always is. And I'm hoping to get the Honor and Glory Omnibus, which would be the Strength of the Pack by Jason Hanson. We just distributed those finally on the Clan Invasion and wrapped that up. Except for Den Wolves, but we wrapped up most of it. My pieces are done. I can't do anything on Den until we get the rest of it. But I want to put that Strength of the Pack out in an Omni for people to actually pick up, those who maybe did not pick it up during the Clan Invasion Kickstarter. And then the good news is I have pretty much the entire novels here. Sorry, the Battletech novels for 2025 are pretty much set. It's Voidbreaker in January. Tom Levine's Blood Will Rise in April, which I'm very excited about. Phil, we finally go back to the Free Worlds League with Letter of the Law and Phil in July. Treachery, and then October is ideally going to be Snow Ravens, I think, with Michael Scarvell's Treachery of Ravens. And that's where that is. So looking pretty good for next year. And then I've got, we're going to make an announcement on this a little bit later. I've got a surprise for folks. Got some more short novels by Michael Stackpole, but I'm going to tease that for now, and then we're going to make an announcement when I'm ready to make the announcement a little bit later on. Yeah, cool. Lots of stuff going on.
Sounds like something you're marketing.
Exactly. Yes. It's part of the reason why I'm just teasing it now, and we'll actually talk about it a little bit later.
So that now is when I know about it.
Yeah, well, there is that. But it doesn't deny Shadowrun as well. We've got stories from Brian Steele, Stephen Dedman, Malik Toms, and who's my fourth one? It's probably going to be, yes, Mr. Hardy. Jason Hardy returns back. We haven't seen him in a novel since Undershadows, and he got a story, and I love the pitch, wrote it up. So also got 2025 Shadowrun novels pretty much set as well. So we're in really good shape for next year. I'm very excited. And the other thing that at some point you need to have the managing editor about, but I know we've announced Augment. It's public. People are submitting for it. Is the Shadowrun magazine Augment,
Yep. Yeah,
which also very excited about. But
we did a talk about that 2 weeks ago before I went on the Alliance trip. So
okay, good.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
lots coming down the pike for fiction.
next question. Forehammer asked, and Tyler, if you're in chat, this one might be for you, because I'm not sure, but I can try to get you this answer if he's not here. For those who got a vehicle in their salvage boxes before the additional boxes were added to orders, contact Tyler as well or QML. I'm not sure. So Tyler, if you're in chat, please go ahead and say the answer. If not, I'm gonna copy this on over, or actually, maybe Dave, if you wouldn't mind, copy this over to the group chat so Tyler can see it. Maybe he'll get us an answer by the end of this. Let's see. Clayton Hollowell asks, when will we see record sheets for the Star League Lances and the Kickstarter packs? I have no idea on that one. So that one I can pass to the group as well. I'm going to just send that one to Rachel. See what we get.
Yeah.
I sent it to him, so we'll see if I get a response by the end of this. Cool. Then I lost my page because I have one screen. Lorcan asks, about the throw on the back of my chair. Why does it resemble the Spanish department store chain El Corte? It's
Deep cut.
just my grandma's throw. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Anything else? We talked about the audiobooks. Oh, the Kickstarter audiobooks. Where do those fall, or where do those stand? John, do you have any idea? I've kind of lost track in Taylor's.
Well, no, that's quite all right. Kickstarter audiobooks. Yes, we have close quarters is done. The files, the book files for that are done. The problem is distributing a book, an audiobook, a large, huge. They're often like half a gig because audio takes up a lot of memory. So we're trying to unlock the question of how do we distribute it to the backers in a easy and reasonable method. And we're working on that. I think we're going to be able to work on it through the store. Actually, I need to follow up with Talon on that, come to think of it. So trying to get that, because once I get that to you all, I can actually release it myself, which I'd like to do. But need to get it to the backers first. Very clear about that. And then there should be, I have to check with my narrators on where we are and other stuff. But so book one is done. Close quarters is finished and recorded. Just got to fix the how do we get it to you. It's just a lot more complicated, a lot more moving parts than just a book. So yeah, that's where that is.
Okay. So sent a message. So sorry, I'm seeing the questions get updated as we have asked stuff. So let me check real quick, see if I've got any answers real quick. But other than that, that's all I've got. Tyler says, so the question was, for those who got a vehicle in their salvage boxes before additional boxes were added to the orders, contact Tyler as well or QML. Tyler says no need, they're being sent separately. The orders are generated already. The ones that apply have already been retroactively. So cool. So no action required. You will be getting your salvage box shipment separately. And let's see if I got anything. Nope, Randall hasn't seen my message about the record sheets. So, John, anything else you want to promote right before we say goodbye here?
No, I think we actually covered everything really nicely. Thanks, Rem. Always a pleasure being on Tuesday Newsday, and I really appreciate the invite. All good.
Thanks for coming. I was scrambling to find a guest today when I found out everyone wasn't feeling well for MUL. So thanks for making the time for me.
My pleasure. Hopefully, Josh, and I forgot the name of the other one. Hopefully, they both are better soon, and we'll be back to talk about MUL shortly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys. thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you. I should be on next week. I'll be in Toronto, but I should be at a place where I can get on. If I can't, for whatever reason, I'll let you guys know on socials. So thank you so much, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Everybody.